here is existing materials, but unfortunately they lack the existing new needs of the modern medicine. And because of this, now we cannot create the artificial organs that behave like real human tissues. And in PrintyMed we have the solution, the biomimetic spider silk. It's ideal material for 3D bioprinting and medical applications because it's very strong, it's flexible, it's sustainable, it's biocompatible, and it's customizable. So, as already you know, what is organ-on-a-chip solutions from the previous presentations today, it's our low-hanging fruit, and we plan to produce the membranes for organ-on-a-chip solutions from our material, because then we don't need to go through all the regulatory process and we can start generating cells much faster. However, you can see that our material has really wide range of applications. So we have already applied for the patent in the countries which you can see. We have unique technology of obtaining artificial spider silk by using the biomimetic production way, where the water is the only solvent. And also we have the specific technology of modification, which allows us specifically modify our material for the needed cell types and also to introduce new functions to it. Our technology was recognized as one of the most significant achievements in Latvian science in 2024. Our business model is, so we plan to sell our raw material, our spider silk, and in parallel we plan to license the applications, for example, like artificial heart valve that we are developing for medtech companies. This dual approach will allow us to gain and to sell in multiple markets simultaneously. We aim to capture 1.6 billion by 2031. And because unlike our competitors, our material is mechanically strength, it's sustainable, consistent, biocompatible, scalable, it has high yields, and it's very customizable. So as I mentioned, you can introduce new properties to the material. For example, add antibiotics and make this material antibacterial, which is also very important for many high-value applications. So we have a team with deep expertise in business, science, and medicine. And during this really short time, we already have got the many remarkable achievements. We have created the initial prototypes for the artificial heart valve and for membranes for organ-on-a-chip solutions, which we are now testing in our laboratory. And also we have signed LOIs with our potential industrial customers. So here you can see our roadmap, and this year we plan to scale up our production size, and next year we will be able to start the first sales in the sector of membranes for organ-on-a-chip solutions. And then we plan to continue to develop our more, let's say, deep medical applications. Now we are looking for 350,000 of investment as a co-financing for our grant, which we already have secured of 800,000 euros to scale up the production, to make the necessary tests, and with this money we will be able to start sales. Thank you, and join us.
First question.
Hi, I would have two questions. First is that is the mention about the material itself? Is it like a new material you mentioned, or and then the other one is about production? Do you produce it by like electrospinning, or how do you produce it?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first question, but I heard the second. I will start from the second, and then you will repeat the first one. So, how do we produce our material? So we have the bacteria, we have the spider gene, everything goes into the bioreactors, and out of this we get the protein which we purify and which we change a bit, let's say. And then from this dope we do the wet spinning, and this is how we create, for example, hypersorb. From this dope we can also create the hydrogel, or also some, let's say, membranes or whatever is needed. But what was the first question I did?
The first question was that is this invention, the patented invention, is that a new material?
Yes, it's for the process of obtaining this biomimetic spider silk and for its modification.
Yes.
Other questions? Okay. No more questions, then thank you very much.
Next up, I would like to welcome our very own LatBAN member, Gleb, representing his new startup.
Not so new, but yeah. Alright, hi guys. My name is Gleb Kiselov, and together with our team, we're building an operations hub for the mobility industry. I'll promise to make it very simple and understandable. So, mobility is basically about two things. It's static and movable. And static is about EV chargers and parking. If we speak about the numbers, in the US alone, there are 300 million vehicles, 2 billion parking spaces. And those vehicles remain parked for 95% of time. What I'm trying to say with this is that the industry that gets so little attention these days is actually huge. And this industry has a problem. It started back in the 1900s, and originally it was very simple to operate. But as technology evolved, its operations got more complex, much more. So complex that the largest parking operator in Europe into parking told us that they spent 70% of their costs on operations. And the complexity keeps growing because more and more technology is evolving. So we speak with a lot of different companies who do the parking operations, and all of them report that the problem exists. But even worse is that they are unable to unleash the potential of modern technology, like AI, because it's nowhere to connect to. As the same Interparking is saying, their data is spread around dozens of different systems, so there is no place for AI to connect. So instead, he sits down with his operations team on a monthly basis, extracts Excel reports from those different systems, and analyzes them on a monthly basis to set up tariffs for the next few months. This is a company that has revenue of 550 million euro per year and is very selective in the technology that it uses. So we know that the problem is there, but even worse, the problem is getting bigger because now there is a legislation that requires all of the operators to install EV chargers across all of the parking lots. So more technology, more complexity, and this is what we see as a real tailwind for the industry's transformation. To the bottom line, for every dollar of revenue that the industry is generating, they're spending about 60 cents on operations. And all of the industry players whom we spoke to expect that these expenses can be cut by at least 50% with the use of the right operations technology. On a market level, this is a huge opportunity. So a few numbers that I want to just highlight here, that just in the US alone, with the revenue that the industry is generating, we know from different customers who we spoke to that the minimal amount that operators can pay, almost anyone is ready to pay, is $2.5 per month per parking spot for the technology that does the operations. With that technology and with that money, just 5% market share can give us a revenue of $195 million per year, just in the US market. And with that revenue, we get additional $105 million in savings for the industry. That's just a 5% market share. So we know that the problem is there, and that dozens of companies who we spoke to are struggling to find the technology that does the operations for them. This is why we're building the operations hub. And in a very simple terms, on the left-hand side, you can see the ways that the parking operators are managing their systems at the moment. These are the real screenshots that we got in the customer interviews. And on the right-hand side, you can see the solution that we have already built. We've been building it recently, and in the last year, we spoke to 53 different customers, large and smaller ones across the entire world. We've built about 20% of the product, and there is a lot more to come. And with this 20% of the product, we managed to get free paying customers and more to be onboarded this year. These are some of the customers we spoke to. So our plan this year, we have two main goals. First one is to complete the product. Because of the complexity of the industry, you need the product with the most of the functions in order for it to be used by the customers. Otherwise, a partial solution would just increase the complexity and will never be used. And second, we are increasing the sales motion in the US. We are taking it very seriously. So, final thing that I'm going to say is that we're planning to raise somewhere in spring. So, if anyone is interested, you can give me a shout. Thank you.
Questions from the audience?
What's your go-to-market plans? What geography, what locations, what regions?
So that's a very good question. US, Florida is the number one priority to focus for multiple reasons. I can explain them later on, but there are multiple reasons why. That's the main market where we're going to focus our sales activity. One of our co-founders is going to move there. And we use Europe as a sandbox mainly at the moment because both myself and two of my co-founders have 6 years of experience combined in the parking industry, so we know all of the players. This is why we personally invested about 200,000 to fund this product to this stage. But US is the main focus.
Could you define AI at its core for this program? Quite clear to me.
So, for example, we are the first and only product at the moment that does the pricing creation for the parking operators using the data. The rest of the products do it, like the rest of the operators do it manually. So, every process that can be replaced with AI, we're trying to replace. Like, for example, predictive maintenance of the equipment, etc., etc.
Does your application require hardware? Do you offer hardware with your application, or you install existing hardware?
No, we are a parking operations hub, so we integrate with the software of different hardware providers as part of the system, but we never deal with hardware ourselves.
So you expect them to have the boxes that transmit data to your servers?
Exactly, and this is one of the things we're doing as part of completing the product. We are integrating with those hardware manufacturers who exist on the market.
And what's your, again, there was a question about go-to-market. Seems like a very hard thing to sell. Are you planning to go to the market through dealers of this hardware, or it's unrelated and you plan to approach clients directly?
So the key customer, that's a very good question by the way. The key customer is the parking operator, and exactly one specific persona in that parking operations business who is worried about the problem. And we are tackling one by one the parking operators, but because of the specifics of the business, it's very easy to expand, to use land and expand strategy. With one customer you onboard, you get access to multiple different applications over the time.
So you target large scale companies, not the owners of small parking lots across the country?
Not only, but the largest chunk of revenue we generate out of the large. So there are 3 categories in the parking operations business: small, medium, and large. Medium are the best to start with, and then large ones are the best in the long-term game.
All right. Do I have time for more questions?
Yes.
All right. So as far as I know, US is different from Europe in terms of how people pay for parking. There is a prepayment model very popular out there. Can you comment on that, and how do you plan? It sounds like it's different systems you have to specifically develop there, so maybe you can share more insight.
To be honest, we don't deal with the payments ourselves because this is what is being done by the parking payment systems, which we integrate in our system, and by the parking hardware providers, which we again integrate in our system. So it's hard for me to answer the question how different it is.
You stay in between. Payments are separate, this is separate.
Exactly. Our goal is to connect those sources of data that operate in the industry independently.
What competitors are there out there?
There are a few. There is a company called Metropolis who I wouldn't say does exactly the same thing as we do, but the direction is similar, slightly different. Again, we can talk about it in more details. There is another company in the US called Okra, slightly similar direction, a lot different from Metropolis and us, but slightly similar. And there are a few companies in Europe as well, but most of the companies I mentioned, they use the closed model. So they built part of the product for their own operations, and they act as a parking operator company themselves.
All right, thanks. Okay, one last question. No. Okay, thank you very much. And
Last but not least, very loud applause to our neighboring country, Lithuanian founder, who is the only representative from the Baltic States.
So thank you for having me here. I'm very happy to be invited. I'm Thomas. I'm CEO and co-founder at Biohifas, and we employ the power of mycelium. We all love food, but unfortunately, we won't be able to enjoy it the way we did. Because the food system is destroying our planet, it endangers our health, and simply it cannot sustain growing human population. There is a better way to make our food. And yeah, why it's destroying our planet? Because it's so much dependent on livestock farming. And livestock farming is responsible for 15% of all greenhouse gas pollution. So there is a better way to make our food just than from animals. Fungi is the largest living organism on our planet. Its roots, mycelium, can help solve problems in the food industry. It has high quality protein, it has its source of fiber, it has vitamins, minerals, and what is important, it's possible to cultivate it on the side streams. For example, beer brewers generate millions of tons of waste, and it is cheap. Our goal is to plug in modular facilities to beer brewers and other factories which generate waste and upcycle that into the food. In that system that we are developing, there's 3 patentable technologies. One is side stream processing into edible substrate, then mycelium cultivation on that substrate, and raw material conservation. So all processes designed to take up to 5 days and generate 1 ton of product per week. And ROI for that is 4 years. What comes out of that modular system is possible to apply into meat alternatives and up to pet food. As well, we are exploring to extract bioactive compounds. And I'm talking not about bioactive compounds from the mushrooms, which are hot now. It's about legal stuff. So it's ferulic acid, spermidin, chitin, and it's possible to use it in functional food as well as in cosmetics. So the market potential is really huge. It's projected to reach $290 billion by 2035. So we want to jump in this growing market, which reached more than $3 billion in Europe and $2 billion in North America. Our B2B model is designed to generate 2 streams of revenue. One is technology sales, another product sales. That means what is made in those modular facilities, then we sell it to the food manufacturers. So there is a competition, but we see ourselves different as we can offer a more sustainable way of producing meat proteins, and as well to be more affordable as we're using side streams. As well, we are bringing a good nutritional value. We have high protein level, it's well digestible, it has phenolic compounds and other bioactive compounds, it's good source of fiber, and it doesn't have saturated fats, which mean no cholesterol. So sustainability and price is also where we can be better than others. So for us, the roadmap is that we are now developing pilot scale production. That means we're designing that modular facility. Then later this year, we'll start joint product development with a design partner. We have a couple of them. And later this year, we already want to sell our product. And next year, we want to go to commercial scale production. So our team is perfectly blended for this mission. Myself, I'm a passionate plant-based diet promoter. As well, I went through different acceleration and incubation programs, so I know how to handle the team and the company. And I have two scientists with me. So Paulina is PhD with a background in fermentation and food technology. Simas is PhD candidate, and at the moment he's in Wageningen University, which is like a mecca for fermentation and alternative proteins. We are backed by experienced advisors who help us from business development, product commercialization to industrial engineering. We are looking for 500,000 euros to start this pilot modular facility, to build it and try it out. So let's employ the power of mycelium and make our food more sustainable. Thank you.
Questions? Yes.
Normally, the mushrooms, they contain protein, which is very hard to digest by the human. It takes about 6 hours for the digested mushrooms compared to the normal meat or chicken or turkey. How do you handle this sort of situation? Because I mean, it's if you are eating just mushrooms, let's say as a supplement to the proteins, I mean, it's normally it will just create pressure on your digestion system.
Yeah, what is important, we are growing now the food embodied in mushroom itself, but we are growing the roots of it. It has some chitin, but it's not such a high levels as in the food embodied. And as well, what we are different from others, we are not using only the fungi, the roots of it, but we're using together with the side stream, with the waste from the, for example, beer breweries. Yeah, and chitin actually, it also has some good qualities as well.
You mentioned that it's affordable, same as the chicken production, but what scale do you need to reach and what targets you need to reach to reach the level of profitability?
To reach the levels of production that it would be good for the market. So, you know, with that modular facility, we can generate 1 ton of product per week. So it depends on how much of those modular facilities we can sell. But as our cultivation time is very short, it's up to 5 days. So you know, to grow the chicken, to grow the beef, you need much more longer. So we are really much more effective than meat industry.
And then the question about the your end customer. What is the typical requirement on that production line? So how much output they request?
Oh, you know, it depends on the level of what a big manufacturer is. You know, if we're talking about Unilever, so it's, you know, hundreds of tons a month. So it will take us some time to reach those levels. But there are smaller manufacturers who are interested to bring in some new products in their portfolio, and then we can secure the amount for them. But I mean, that's, you know, we're gonna have to grow and, you know, sell this technology to beer breweries, and as there are many beer breweries, we can generate a lot of production.
Any questions? I actually wanted to ask, have you managed to secure any letters of intent from manufacturers for the...
Yeah, well, when we started the company and in the acceleration programs, they told us, you know, those letter of intent are really nothing because you can get them. But what we managed to do last year, we had a pilot with one of the biggest Lithuanian food companies, Flomo, and we had a pilot with them. So they have instant noodle product, and then we put our minced meat into that. So there is a inquiry from food manufacturers about, you know, different proteins than soy or peas, because it's much more, it's better, the fungi protein than the plant-based proteins.
Any last questions? If no, I'm just
Curious about the carbon footprint, let's say. Have you calculated how much CO2 you produce per ton of your product?
Well, we have not calculated in our process, but in general, there is a comparison between the alternative protein production and meat protein production. So it's like 80 to 90% of less land use, less water use, and less energy use. So it's really much.
But fungi themselves, they breathe and they produce a lot of CO2 because they produce when you create this protein, they produce CO2 by themselves. Do you have this like chemically calculated?
Yeah, but it's not comparable with the beef or chicken. How much CO2 they produce?
I mean, compared to alternatives which are like fake meat.
With the plants, for example.
Yeah, for the plants.
Yeah, but you know, plants also emit CO2, and the cycle of plant, it's not 5 days. To grow the grain, to grow the soy, you need months, and we can produce our product in 5 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
One last question.
I got a very good question. I'm a meat eater. I love meat. So for me to switch from meat, obviously the emissions and all that is great, but for me to switch from meat to alternative, something I have to do something with taste, right? It's not only with the proteins that I get and everything, but the first thing is taste. So how do you differ, like in terms of taste to steak?
That's a good question, and I mean, I'm not fighting with the meat eaters. That's okay. People can eat what they want to eat, and that's totally fine. I mean, our target is not like vegans or vegetarians. It's the flexitarians, the ones who want to reduce. I mean, now, for example, in Lithuania, people eat 100 kg of meat per year, and that's 3 times more than World Health Organization is suggesting to eat. And about the taste, yeah, so that's the biggest thing that, you know, to make meat alternative, it's very hard to give this, you know, fat that comes with this taste. And but what is very interesting, that actually in evolution, to go from plant to animal, we needed a fungi. And fungi is actually, with its all nutritional value, is much more closer to the meat, and it has this flavor of meat. Umami flavor. So, and as well as it grows, it has this kind of, you know, hifas, which can replicate the muscle texture.